Hey guys, thanks for watching the podcast. As always, if you can, in the description and in the pinned comment is the locals and the Patreon. You can join for as little as $1 a month. I do daily videos there. Or you can do the PayPal, the Cash App, or the Ko-fi, buy me a coffee for as little as I think $1 or $3. The goal is to get completely away from YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify as payment systems so that it can be independent and keep going regardless of the winds of censorship. And as I always say, the reason because of this is, or the reason for this is because none of the revenue streams are guaranteed. Case in point, the Spotify revenue, no rhyme or reason. I got more downloads this month than last month. No rhyme or reason, dropped by 60%. So that's what I mean when I say Rumble and YouTube are paying me now. It is never guaranteed for more than 30 days. So if you can, I really do mean it when I say I notice every dollar. Some people have said, well, I can't give 100, so I'm not going to give any. No, no, no. I notice every dollar and it helps. So if you can, please do. Thank you. Or you can use the links in the description. Heaven's Harvest Prepper Food, promo code TPC, or Sport Drink, promo code Tommy's Podcast if you want to get something in return. So thank you so much. And we're recording on Saturday, February 28th, 2026 at 10:19 a.m. Eastern Time with Mr. Ben Kelleran. And man, I hope today's not like a famous date. You know, I hope, I don't remember I don't remember the day Gavrilo Princip shot Franz Ferdinand and started World War II was right September 1st, 1939. That was a blitzkrieg, right? I mean, JFK, November 22nd, 1963, 9/11. Is this going to be introduce yourself, man, but is this going to be one of those or some people are saying like, no, dude, this is just gonna be Desert Storm. It's gonna be. Everybody thought it was popping off last summer too when we hit their nuclear facilities and it didn't. But yeah, introduce yourself for everybody.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. I'm kind of of the opinion that it'll be another thing where people just get all worked up, and then in a couple days, it's like, okay, it's over. We move on to the next part of the news cycle. But yeah, I guess for the quick introduction, my name is Ben Kelleran. Have a podcast, Substack, YouTube, kind of the whole nine. Talk about investments, current events, geopolitics, anything that I find interesting. So I'll have a bunch of different guests on talking about everything from markets to current events to commodities, and sometimes detour into like health and fitness and some of the right wing topics I think are pretty timely as far as where we are today. So
Yeah, yeah, and it's and again for when I read comments that are like Tommy's a gatekeeper, I'm like, number one, you just saw the behind the scenes. I'm fucking running around, the closing doors, turning the dryer back on, and even more. We talked about it last night and the night before. We're
yeah, a couple
talking for like
days
10
ago.
minutes, and halfway through, you're like, "Am I coming on your show?" And I was like, "No, no." You're like, "Are you coming on my show?" I was like, "No, you're coming on my show." And you're like, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh." Like that's that's the pulling the strings when people are they're fucking retarded. But that's also a boring topic to harp on that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know shit about I think it will be in a weird way. I don't know how to word this without sounding like a psychopath. I feel like deep down we're almost more afraid of it being nothing because nothing ever happens. You know what I like on a weird level, like on surface level, you're like, this is bad. I don't want like thermonuclear Armageddon. But if you dig a little deeper, you're like, if it's nothing, then it's just like today's like another Saturday.
Yep.
I have work Monday. Do you think that's like a somewhat of a like we kind of want it to be insane because if it's not, then it's not.
Well, I think there is some aspect where people are getting tired of the nothing ever happens. Like I think there are a lot of recent events where people are getting closer to being ready to basically flipping the game board and just having basically the fuck it moment is what I like to call it. But we'll kind of see where that goes. I think the thing that's tough to like game out with all this is um, you have the setup where over the last year since Trump got into office, everything's been moving very quickly. There's been a bunch of people that get excited about Doge or excited about cuts or excited about some of these different things. And
We're taking Greenland. We're and it's
yeah, Venezuela or whatever else. Canada's going to get, Alberta's going to have their independence movement, stuff like that. And the more you kind of zoom out and realize where you are, it's like, okay, like the same things have been happening for my entire life and your entire life, just kind of keep going on. So that's, that's part of the thing that's frustrating, I think, for a lot of the younger generation is you see some of the same things, whether it's like the Epstein files or some of the economic stuff, like the offshoring, lack of job creation, all that stuff. It's not a great economic environment to be coming of age or in the younger generations, that's for sure.
Do you think it's one of those things like the what is it, the no true Scotsman thing? Do you know what that is? I'm gonna butcher it, but it's like every true Scotsman, every Scotsman loves the Queen, and one guy's like, "Well, I'm Scottish and I don't love." They're like, "Well, you're not a real Scotsman." That it's the it's the nine out of it's the doctors agree COVID's safe and effective. He said it's not. Well, we just suspended his Twitter account. All doctors. Do you think it's almost like nothing ever can happen? Because this is what I mean by it, right? It's one quote I like is day by day your life never changes, but when you look back, it's unrecognizable, every couple of years,
Yep.
right? And it's I mean, I wanted the podcast to work so badly, just to, like pay rent. That seemed impossible to ever get to. And now I'm like in it's been paying rent for like 2 years. And you're like, oh, you're kind of in the thing. And it's so we look back and it's like nothing ever happens. At the same time, like I was born in 1990. I mean, 9/11 happened. 20 years in overseas. That's less crazy, but 9/11 happened. It'd be a bioweapon was released. Like a bioweapon was released, and it kind of seemed like, oh wow, this really is the martial law dictatorship overthrow. They almost blew Trump's head off. Like stuff does happen. It doesn't happen, but you look back, you're like, no, it things are happening. I mean, we kidnapped a president. Like we just took Maduro. I'm like that's mine. You know what I mean? Like Russia, not Russia. Russia and Ukraine have been at it for 4 years. Was it 2 million dead? I
Probably
mean,
more. Yeah.
Israel just weed whackered Gaza.
Yeah.
So, I mean, does nothing ever happen?
I think that's the thing is people get like because of the nature of the news cycle now, everyone's like attention span is so short where they expect the happenings to be like a massive 1 day event, like something where right now 9/11 is a 1 day thing, but then it has impacts like shockwaves that kind of go on for years. And I think for a lot of these events, like you mentioned, the 2020 and the bioweapon, and we followed it up with basically the greatest or largest, not greatest, science experiment in the history of mankind with the clot shots, right?
Oh yeah,
So that's the thing with some of these things where it's
like
not a
Nuremberg
one,
level shit for 8 billion people. Like nothing's ever happened. I'm like, eh.
yeah, no, that kind of stuff doesn't happen in a week. It's not a major like large scale attack where it's over and done in a weekend. So we'll see if this one is any different as far as Iran and Israel. But again, like I think the pattern of Israel having a ton of influence over our politics and our foreign policy is a pattern that's not going to go away. And I think the thing that's going to be interesting to watch is how kind of the attitude shifts as younger generations start to gain more influence. So
That's one of like the wildest happenings is I mean even Epstein files like wow it actually came like Pizzagate was real like wow. I think one of the more wild things is you can't say nothing's happened when an insane number of people are now openly discussing Israel controlling the United States and not in a mocking way.
yeah, in a
That's
just disgusted way. Yeah.
it in a factual way, like with
Yeah.
receipts, with
Yep.
citations. Like, why is this happening? It's not even like I suppose. It's like here's an email saying don't tell them I work for Mossad. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't know. For me, I was just thinking like what is a at this point? I almost feel like UFO disclosure would be like, you know,
Yeah, well, I know they've got a bunch of different things on different Air Force bases and
Yeah.
in deep dark holes, so you never know what they're gonna pop up with. But um, that is an interesting rabbit hole to go down with some of the space and some of the different technologies that they have been working on. So I don't know where all that goes, but the UFO topic is something that's definitely something that can capture the imagination of, I think, even the typical normie. So
Do you think it's just so what you said about, we gotta have it, you gotta have the hits faster and faster for them to be crazy. And that's undeniably true. Like news cycles faster and faster and the stories are crazy. We're building a tolerance. It's very simply, it's a tolerance to a drug. I don't, and this is, I'm not saying you're saying this. I don't think that's by design. I think this is, I mean, the technological singularity where it goes faster and faster and faster. I read Ray Kurzweil's The Singularity is Near, I think in 2009 when I was a senior in high school. And it was like, that's just seems inevitable. And as it goes faster and faster and faster, culture and happenings are faster and faster and faster. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I mean, on the most base level, you'd be like, everyone has a phone, so we're witnessing it. No, it's like seeing fighter jets fly by. And like, that's the technological singularity. And then shockwaves are like rocking your windows. That's the
yeah,
cultural singularity. That's the happenings. I don't think they're unrelated. And by that, I guess, train of thought, they're going to continue and they're going to accelerate. It might almost be like an evolutionary adaptation because the fact that I got a guy on yesterday, he's saying like blackmail back in the 50s is like somebody caught you on audio saying like, I don't think communists are all evil like that, And then in like the 60s, it was like he cheated on his wife. And now it's like, all right, I guess we got him. He sacrificed a baby at a black mass. Like
yeah,
that is going up. And but that wouldn't be palatable to people in the 50s. They would dissociate. They would just eyes would gloss over. I wonder if this allows us to move to the next level of whatever it is. He said UFOs, space travel, multiplanetary, stellar civilization because our tolerance is getting higher and higher. Like we wouldn't really freak out if they were like, all right, so we do have this recovered craft from 1947. I think most people would be like, yeah, yeah, okay.
yeah,
If Trump just goes, hey, there's been a 50-year plan, communists are destroying the country. Here's the evidence of the 2020 election. I'm putting half of them in jail, executing half, and we're going to do snap elections. And the reality is it's a 50 red state country. I think most people would be like, yeah, you know
yeah.
what
Same with like the JFK files. If they put that
I
out,
mean?
everyone's just gonna be
All
like,
right,
"Yep,
all right.
I can see it."
Trump's going to tweet it and be like, you know what? Not only are the elections paused, like, wait till you find out who did 9/11. I think most of us, there would be a moment of like, oh my God, it's happening. And then we'd be like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's almost like we're not freaking out anymore. You've been on however many first dates, like you still get butterflies, but you're not like throwing up in the bathroom when you're like, in eighth grade where you're like, oh my God, what if she holds my hand? You're just like, yeah, play it cool. I don't know where I was going with that. So I'm just going to use it.
well, yeah. I think the thing too that you're kind of talking about, and I'll kind of rephrase it a little bit, is like the acceleration of kind of the news cycle, but also people's reaction to it. And when you see some of the stuff on social media, like the how the Overton window has shifted once basically the brakes got taken off on certain topics, like you see kind of post October 7th as far as Israel, right? If you told me 3 or 4 years ago, like some of the discussions being having like happening out in the open now on social media would be happening today, be like, no, that's gonna take at least like 10 years, man, like maybe 15. And here we are like 3 or 4 years later, and it's basically gotten to a point where I can't remember who was talking about this, but basically once you hit a critical mass of I think it's like 13, maybe 15% of the population, like having an opinion or worldview, then basically things start to shift very, very quickly.
Wildfire.
Yep.
Yeah, and so let me preface by saying like I've been a conspiracy head my whole life. I mean, I didn't go to prom. I remember reading Legacy of Ashes by Tim Weiner about the CIA. Like I don't like neither proms or and I've always been a conspiracy as far back as I can. I just love this shit. Up until about probably around 2 years ago, I balls deep in conspiracy. Got banned from YouTube for like interviewing Dr. Malone and Dr. McCullough before they ever went on Rogan. Up until 2 years ago, I thought the idea of like Israel's influence was lowbrow retarded. I was like, dude, shut the fuck up. I'm like, we're the evil empire. Like, and now I look at it and I'm like, God, holy shit, you can't. Because
Can't avoid it.
I would always see people in like the comments. I'd be covering all these topics, and they'd be like, talk about the Jews, and I'd just be like, I genuinely thought it was. I was like, there are so many like real things, and that's how I wasn't like a guy that doesn't believe in any conspiracy. I'm safe and effective. I'm like, no, I'm a conspiracy guy, and I'm telling you, this is retarded. So you look, you're like, all right, I'll fucking look at this and look at that, and you're like, well, that's weird, and then you're like, well, that one's weird, and then it's happening in front of you. Like you start with you start with like JFK or the USS Liberty. You start with like weapons. You start with involvement in like the World Trade Center and E Team and the art group Gelatin. You're like, all right, but then you get to like now. You get to
Yeah.
like right now, and you're like, hold on, that is wild, and I don't know what's coming from that. I have no idea what's coming from that.
Yeah. I think the thing you're getting at too is like whenever people start their like conspiracy theory journey or whatever you want to call it, right? You obviously start with 9/11 or JFK or some of these things about World War One, World War Two, and then you start to like bring that forward where like, oh yeah, the CIA was off the leash in the 1960s, 1970s, but now they're totally fine, totally working the best interest of the U.S., right? There's no connections to Mossad at all, not anymore,
None.
right? But you start to see these patterns today where it's like, okay, you get into the media, you get into Hollywood, you get into politics, and go down the list, and right, even just recent events with Ukraine and Israel and Gaza, all that stuff, you see it more and more, and I think part of it too is as becoming more blatant. Like it's not as hidden as it maybe was, I don't know, 20 years ago. So it seems to me to be more obvious now. And I think part of it is like the entire media landscape is basically broken down. And that's kind of something I've written about in the past is like, as you see more podcasts, like more independent media, like older generations passing on, like the average age of a, right, cable news viewer is like what, 73, 74 now,
I mean,
right? Those businesses are all dead men walking in 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is. So, I mean, and you can see it from their advertising revenue where it's like, what, 55% from pharma. And it's all these made up like medications. That's another topic that I think people are going to realize that how badly like the US has been poisoned over the last 50 years, right? Not just the food supply, but also some of these
medication.
different things with vaccines and like the pharmaceuticals and cancer and like you go down the list and then you see some of the stuff where it's finally popping up like, oh yeah, like this ivermectin thing. And if you combine it with what fenbendazole or some of the other pharmaceuticals I can't pronounce are actually useful, it's like, oh, turns out they have very interesting properties when it comes to healing cancer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And I think what got me, and I always have to like just be honest about this because it's so easy to retroactively say things. I always thought Charlie Kirk was just a fucking dweeb. Like I'm a conservative guy. I just always viewed him as almost like a South Park caricature of a conservative.
Yeah.
I was like, dude,
It was,
shut the fuck.
he's like
I,
the shit lib of the
yeah, I was
conservatives.
always like, hey man, I'm for like, no foreign wars and yeah, the woke shit's boring. But like the whole, I don't know, it was I just viewed it almost like you'd feel like a Mormon or something, or like who are the guys that knock on the door? Is that Latter Days? No, who are the ones that knock on the door? The
Yeah,
guy.
that's Mormons. Yeah.
Yeah, I just always viewed it. It's like they're not bad, but I mean, like, yeah. Kind of, just fuck off. And so I always have to be honest about that because I don't want to like retroactively be like, oh, he was, a good man. I think he was. And actually, since he died, I 99.999% of anything I ever saw of him speaking was after he died. And of course, now I have to eat shit. I'm like, oh, he did seem like a legit dude that was just trying to take the path of. He's not stupid. He had a high IQ. Oh, he's not a pussy for trying to talk about it. I think he just realized, well, if you don't talk about it, it goes to violence. So, hats off to him. What got me? was like a couple days after October 7th when Charlie Kirk, fucking like the Mormon with the tucked in shirt, was like, "I've been in Israel. It does not take 7 hours to respond." That to me was like, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what the fuck? Like, and that's what got me. And then he said it, I don't know, maybe it was the same day, but the clip's gone around. He was like, I think we should just look at things. He's like, we have to look at October. If we're going to be honest, it seems like we're being lied about stuff. George Floyd, Russia collusion, COVID. He's like, it is only natural to say maybe we're being lied about to this, right? And I think that's how I've tried to approach it is like, if I'm so into conspiracies because they're fun, but then I do get angry when I see smart people I know just not. I'm like, dude, at least look at it. Like, at least look at it. I kind of have to look in the mirror and be like, well, how come I'm not addressing this one or that one? But everything you were saying, another odd thing, and there's a quote I love, and it's like, you're not scared of failure, you're actually scared of success. Because what would you do if it all happened and all went right? That's another thing that gets me is like, maybe we have like this deep fear where we're realizing like a small cabal of psychopathic, satanic pedophile cannibals have been fucking over this world. What if what if our lifespan really is right now like 150? Like what if you really can have like a median income and like a stay-at-home mom? What if we really do have like clean energy, like fusion, 0 point energy? What if it really can be beautiful? That's almost for me, I don't know, it's a little more like nerve-wracking because you kind of expect for it to all be evil. I'm running my math. You gotta butt in here.
Well, I think like people don't realize like right, utopia is never going to happen on
No.
Earth for a bunch of reasons, but could like is there plenty
Could it
of
be notably better?
resources and all these different things to have a right functioning high trust society if we wanted to, if the political is there? Like, yeah, you bet your ass there is. And
Yeah.
to your point on the energy side, one of the things I've been looking into more recently is geothermal, which
Hmm.
has been basically a boondoggle for a long time. But with some of the new like drilling technology that's out there, um, especially in the Western United States, where you have basically the kind of environment for it, I think you're going to see that be like a primary form of baseload power. Like it's going to start happening very quickly here in the next 5 or 10 years. So there's like some of these technologies, basically, as you start to drill like past a certain depth, right, it gets hot and it, like the conventional drill bits will basically just melt. So to get to a certain depth, like you'd have to be like changing out drill bits all the time. And there's now one technology where like it basically pulses ahead of the drill bit, like breaks up the rock, and so you can go like 3, 4, 5 miles deep without having to basically change out the equipment and making it ridiculously expensive. So the actual cost to get these things up and running, I think, is going to come down a lot. And the thing that's interesting, it's not like a linear step change for geothermal where it's like, oh, the temperature you're getting underground goes up from, say, 200 Celsius to 250, right? It's not just a linear amount of power you get. Like as you increase from 200 to 300, 400 and on, right? It's basically exponential curve where like you in theory could have like single geothermal wells that are producing the same kind of power as like nuclear, like small modular nuclear reactors. So that's why I think is going to be a faster breakthrough than something like fusion.
What's the one the Russians dug or the Soviets, the Kola borehole? Have you ever looked into that one? Kola, I think.
I'd have to go back and look. Is
It's
that the
like,
one where they basically just tried to go as deep as possible, or
yeah, I think they just
okay,
stopped. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that would be it as well, right? Yeah, I imagine where even like a laser to pulse ahead or some shit. But even that is like a general theme,
yeah,
geothermal or fusion or whatever.
yeah,
As a general theme, it it seems less like all this good stuff is in my opinion, from whatever I can see, whatever fog of war we're in, it seems less like all this good stuff is happening and more of just like the finger has been taken off the scale to make bad stuff or to hold back the good stuff. If like by no means do I have any illusion that like YouTube is conservative. I know that's a bold take, but since I've been allowed back on YouTube, just the natural growth of it compared to when I was on in 2020 and 2021, I just kind of look at it. I'm like, it is so like, it's not that they're helping me. It's just so clear they're fucking me in the ass. It's just so clear without doing anything, without even sharing the
Yep.
link, how fast it grows now. I'm like,
Yep.
you've, you cocksuckers. That's what that's what it kind of feels like. So be it geothermal, be it fusion, be it whatever. It almost feels like the finger is coming off. Now, did a good group of guys, white hats, did they get rid of the evil people or are the evil people just dying off? Is it an emergent thing where you like you can't hold on? It's just spinning faster and faster.
Yeah. I mean, I think other people have talked about this, but I think you do have definitely competing factions of like the so-called elite class or
Well,
like
yeah,
political power groups. And right when you see different things going on in Europe and different things here in the US, like I think there are some
pretty.
patriots, but
It's pretty clear. Well, at the very least, it's pretty clear there are groups fighting.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
No, it's gotten more obvious too for the casual observers. But when you see some of the stuff going on in Europe, you see some of the people in charge here in the U.S. and right, people like assume that oh, your senator, your congressman, like they're the people with actual political power. It's like
no,
no,
they're
dude,
no,
no, no, no, no.
no.
It's the people whose names you've never heard of, and right, whether it's donors or people behind them, or I mean, go down the list of whoever you can think of, but it's not something where the most powerful people are actually right in charge visibly, right?
Yeah,
And I'm kind of the opinion that we're going to see basically a massive shift in kind of the form and structure of government, like in our lifetime. I'm rooting for basically a monarchy or something close to it, but we'll
yeah. No, I take that 1,000%.
yeah. I'm ready. Like sign me up for the benevolent dictator at this point,
A
where
1,000%.
I,
And
I'm
it,
I'm tired of the current setup where it's you basically are voting for the right wing or the left wing version of okay, one group is gonna import infinity brown people and the other group is gonna be sending troops off to the Middle East for our greatest ally, right?
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like forever. When I'd hear people say, "You want a monarchy," I'd be like, "No, like no, it's that's what makes America great." But then you realize, like, yeah, I don't think we've ever really had democracy. That's the change. It's not that, in my opinion, it's not that democracy's been here for 249 years and now we're just going to be a bunch of cocky, ungrateful assholes who are like, fuck it. No, I don't actually think it's ever been there. I think that's the change is like, no, 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 you've never had the thing. I really don't. I mean, is it, was 2020 the first stolen election or is it the first one we saw? I
Well,
mean,
it's pretty obvious, but that
2000, they had the hanging chads. I mean, but even Kennedy getting in and like Chicago, there are all these late night ballot, but it was in the 60s and it was black and white TVs. There was no Twitter.
yeah,
And you go,
and people trusted the news.
yeah. And you go, hold on. It's what's really, and then if it didn't work, you just blow his head off. Like, that's not, was there a snap election where everyone's like, hey, do you think we should shoot Kennedy? And like, you have a bunch of, I endorse this. No, it's like, that wasn't. So I don't think we've ever had democracy. That's the difference.
Yeah,
Is if we had it, and that's what led to the United States and its economic power, I would be less gung ho to be like, yeah, let's toss it out. I don't think we've ever had it, so we're not tossing anything out.
we're
We've
going back to the traditional ways.
not even that. We've had a monarchy. It's just not one you know about. So if
Yeah,
we're gonna do this shit, I want to know about it.
yeah. At least someone will be responsible at the end of the day, right? There needs to be instead of this unaccountable blob you have right now, like you actually
Yeah,
have someone who is like the sovereign, right? The guy who is the exception, makes the rules, and right, the responsibility falls on him. So that's the thing. I think the kind of changing system of government, you're seeing it now. It's happening right in steps, and maybe we do kind of keep the facade of the current system, but we are going to a place where there's a lot more cooperation between government and business and industry, and that's going to be interesting because you've kind of already seen what that can do in China. Whereas here, like if you're a business trying to build or grow and expand, right, there are certain things that have been favored, but in reality, like if you tried to build anything big, right, you're getting tied down in red tape and regulations and other bullshit for 10 or 20 years. Right now, things are actually moving where it's like, hey, we're going to accelerate the permitting process on this, and we're not going to let the environmentalists stop your project for like 5 or 10 years to drag it through court because the like blue like river toad or some like endangered species like all that crap. But I think the thing that's going to be interesting is like I've got a project that I have been working on for a while, and it's like, okay, if you can get basically the federal government and the state government and the local government all lined up, like I think some of the stuff could be done in 2 or 3 years. Whereas if you tried like what I'm working on now, like 15, 20 years ago, it's like you're going to be stuck like jumping through hoops, doing the regulatory dance for 10, 15 years before you even like get to put a shovel in the ground and start building. So,
And even then, it's like we have that, and it's like military projects. So it's again, it's like this isn't like a novel idea. It's like when push comes to shove, like everything gets green lit when it's like stealth technology. We need to build the F-117. Everything gets green lit when it's like we gotta develop rockets. We already have that ability. Again, so it's not like it's this new thing. We already do the thing where like green light it, all of it goes, destroy all restrictions. Like they found, I think up here in Maine or New Hampshire, I think they recently found an enormous lithium mine, like fucking retarded. And like that's going to be used for batteries. You have all these people here, like you have people against it who are like, we won't allow it. It's our pristine land. And then you have other people who are like, I wish they would do it to create jobs, but they're not going to. And in my mind, I'm like, they will roll in Abrams tanks and shoot all of you. This isn't some weird project where it had bad PR. So like, all right, we won't do it. If this is for military hegemony, they will fucking carpet bomb you. They will 1,000. Don't make no goddamn mistake. They will shoot you in the face. And so it's like we already have that. And why? I mean, according to this idea, it's like well because the military keeps it safe. And in theory, okay. Why can't you do that for domestic things? Why can't you put the incentive on like no, not America first, like America only. Fuck everybody else. Take care of your own. Make it a good society where you can raise kids and it's safe. Yeah, greenlight it. Because again, we've already seen. I don't think democracy has ever existed here, but let's say it even did. Where has it gotten us? Where has it gotten us? I mean, you have veterans blowing their brains out in VA parking lots. But just if you're brown and you're a fat woman, like come over the border. We've got it all.
we've got stimmies for you.
Anything you need. And it's like, yeah, man, that hasn't gotten us anything. There's no even veneer of like maybe we should have just even like a Ford factory where if you're a dude you can go just hit a lug and like make enough for like a 2-bedroom house. Like no, we can't do that. So I guess that's how I look at it. I'm like, bring in the fucking dictator.
Yeah.
What like
No, yeah.
like
I'm in the same boat. I think the biggest thing that like has to be addressed is like some of the immigration and the policy there, because what people like talk about and like they're not there are still some people that are not ready for this conversation, but when you look at the immigration policy and how America became what it is like, yeah, we're going to take basically anyone from Europe, right? If you're willing to work and you're willing to not live off the government, we'll take you.
I was listening to an audiobook last week. I don't fucking remember something about grand strategy, whatever. But there was one clip I screen recorded and I posted it to Twitter. And it's just, and the guy was saying it as it's a bad thing because he's a fucking shitlib. But it was like, back in up until like whatever the 19th, like first like I don't know, for the first 200 years, it was like the United States, we had this quota where it was like 90% of all immigrants can only come from England, Germany, or France, and it was so bad. And then for everyone else, there's all these stringent things. Like if you're gonna come from Peru, like you had to be a doctor, you had to have $1 million in bullion, like you had to have all this shit. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, like
Yeah, so that's why it worked.
that's
What do you
yeah.
know?
And the other thing is like, yeah, no, it's like the oh, your ancestors were immigrants. Sure, I'm Irish. Sure, they all came here in the early 1600s, 17. They came here and tamed a wild land. And the Irish that came in like the 1800s, and they were rightfully abused as slaves and hazed, which is what you're supposed to do. That's what any group of guys does.
Yeah,
And you earn
that's how
your
you
keep.
assimilate, right?
That's how you assimilate. Hey, I know you're right. That's all. What do you see an Irish flag here? No,
No.
fucking red, white, and blue, baby. Like I say, I'm Irish because I've been told I'm Irish. I've never visited Ireland, and I actively don't want to. Why would I? I live in the greatest empire. Like that's what it's supposed to be. This idea that it's always just been. People always quote like the Statue of Liberty. That's not a law. It's a poetic and script. That's not a law. You can't just
Yeah.
early bird gets the worm. Like it's a saying, or it's like, good always wins in the end or it all evens out. It's like, no, it doesn't.
No. No, it
It
doesn't.
absolutely fucking does not, dude. Like,
Yeah.
so
Well,
that's the thing.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, I was just gonna say, like when my what was it great grandparents or whatever it was came over from Sweden and Ireland, it's right, they both kind of ended up in Seattle, right? Like you're saying, right? Even 150 years ago, like Seattle area was basically just a giant logging town, right? And what it's turned into now is, I mean, basically East New Delhi in some places, but it's like the whole H-1B thing's out of control, and it's frustrating to see. But the thing that is like when you go back and look at history, people say, "Oh, we're a nation of immigrants," and it's like, yeah, immigrants from where, right? Like America is very different in that, right? It's going to be a mix of Germans and French and right English, but you also have a bunch of other European heritages in there, and right, those people are what I would call like heritage Americans, right? There's different people that have been here for hundreds of years as well, but right, that's right, the whole argument of you can just be born here and then you're a citizen and right then you're good to go. It's amazing to me that people still fall for that. Like if I had like kids in China, they wouldn't be Chinese, right?
No.
So if people from China come over here and have kids, like doesn't make them American, at
Yeah.
least not in my mind.
And then the other thing is like you go through all these stages and you realize like even what we're talking about now doesn't matter. There is no gotcha. They don't care. They're either too stupid to realize they're wrong or they know they're wrong and they don't care. So it's like just do it. Like that's the other thing. Is like you just to me I'm like you just stop even explaining it. How about you can't come here? I
Yeah,
know I don't need to tell you what our past like that's the realization I had during COVID was like I'd always explain why I didn't want the vaccine like on the show. I forget who said it, but somebody was like, "You don't need to explain yourself." I was like, "Why didn't no, I have all the reasons I didn't want it? But why didn't you get it?" Because
yeah, because I didn't want to.
how about that? Let's switch. I'm not tall, but I'm 180 pounds of muscle. If I go up to a chick at the bar and ask her, "Hey, can I get you a drink?" and she says no, do you think I go, "Why not?" How quickly would rightfully a bouncer put his knuckles down my throat, right?
Well, it's not going to get you anywhere, too. It's that's the
Regardless of it
thing.
getting me
Like,
anywhere, imagine that. Why? Could you tell me why not? I'm really attracted to you, and I'd love to fuck you. Like, excuse me, like, so it's like you don't need to say why. Now you can if you want. You can provide that civil explanation. You're more than free to. But at the core, you don't have to. You don't have to explain why you're not giving $1 to the homeless guy at the light. You can just say no. And I think
yeah,
that's kind of what we are going toward. It seems like we're
yeah,
sliding to where it's going to be like, how come you're not taking immigrants? Some people will explain everything we're explaining. I think other people will say because
because I don't want to. Because I
because you
think
are no longer in
America,
international waters. You are within our coast. We are within our rights to like that's what it's
yeah,
going to be. Go hop the White House fence in a mask with a backpack and see if the Secret Service is going to tell you why they're apprehending you, or if they're not going to put a 50 cal round through your fucking brainstem. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
yeah, they don't need a reason. But that's the thing for a lot of these topics where, like, if you start to fix immigration stuff. I think you start to fix
I
the
think it's
culture. I think you start to fix the economy. I think you start to fix housing prices. I think you start to fix all of it. And people say, "Oh, it's 10 million or 20 million." Like, look, I don't care if some of these people are citizens. Like, Ilhan Omar should not be in America. Or, right,
yeah,
go down
fuck
the
off,
list of some
dude.
of
Yeah,
these people
fuck
that are
off.
just, right, they shouldn't be here. So, I mean, that's basically an operation that's been run for decades. And, right, we've made a lot of mistakes along the way, including Hart Celler and was it like letting what Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society and some of these other organizations basically drop like turn parts of cities into like ethnic enclaves, right? So like that's the frustrating thing is you see how America's changed even since like we were young, and especially like I saw it like in the last 20 years where I grew up in Seattle, like it's turned into like people complain about H-1Bs now, like that started in Seattle and the Bay Area and just was accelerated for a long time. And now the neighborhood I grew up in is, I mean, it's yeah, not worth going back to. So it's frustrating.
And it's also very clear that none of this is organic.
100%.
It's no one. You cannot look at Europe right now. And people are like, they're so stupid. It's like, sure, they're not. People, well, this is what Democrats get for voting him in. It's like, are they? Or is the voting system completely fraudulent? It's like, I
Yeah.
totally get that this is what you voted for, but there's a lot of you're like, did they vote for this? Because did they vote? Because everyone in California is leaving that has money. I don't think they voted for it. It's the same thing where it's like Europe's shooting themselves in the foot. Maybe. It seems pretty obvious that this is how you would destroy countries without overtly dropping nuclear weapons on them.
Yeah.
If you wanted to avoid a nuclear response in kind, this is what you would do.
Well, I mean, you go back far enough in history and you see the same patterns over and over. It's like, well, who opened the gates of Toledo? Who is responsible for all these
Oh,
things? Like, what is the common pattern here? Like, huh?
oh, I don't want to come across as an anti-Semitic. Hey, hey, hey. No, 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 no. If I always say this, man, there's no such thing as anti-Tommyism. If people don't like me, there's a very good chance it's merit-based. I did something, I said something. That doesn't mean I can't change. But if you don't like me, there's a good chance. Some people it's going to be because they disagree with me. Okay, whatever. There's a good chance I'd made a bad first impression, and it's entirely my fault. I was rude. I was flip. You know what? I was dismissive. I wasn't grateful. I canceled last second. No one goes, well, that's anti-Tamitic. You go, yeah, the guy's kind of being a cunt. I gave him an hour out of my day, and he canceled on me 4 minutes prior. Yeah, no, and I don't get out and be like, can you believe the hatred against me? And if I did, people would be like, "You're a faggot." Like, shut the fuck up, dude. It's because you didn't or it's because you showed up drunk or something. Like, but that's the thing, man. Is like, you can't point any of these things out, and it's just a. And I also look at I don't know something like fentanyl or like drug use, right? Like, it's not that it's not that the people we're talking about, white heritage Americans. It's not that they're all choir boys, right? You
No,
absolutely
definitely
you're gonna
not.
have to have absolutely. Like I say that as a guy that was in a fraternity in South Georgia. There are a lot of white trash sacks of shit. Like by no means am I like they're all just but when you look at things like why are all these towns that were doing well 100 years ago without all the modern amenities we have? Why do they look bombed out? Well, they're on fentanyl. It's like, well, why are they on fentanyl? It's like, well, because the family fell apart. It's like, well, why the family fall apart? And it's like, well, mom and dad both had to work, and dad left or mom left, and it's like, well, why did that happen? And it's like, oh, because wages are down and we have to work at this or that. And you go, well, why did that happen? And you go, well, there used to be a mill, and I know that simply from the town of, let's say, an extended family member of mine, where they grew up. It was a mill town for like 180 years, and it was like a picturesque, cozy little town. I mean, like there were pictures of like this isn't like me looking at it like through rose-colored glass. Like JFK was there. It was like a town of like 30,000 people, but like he was there to like This is America. It looks like Detroit on a good day. And that's a microcosm. Well, why did this happen? Well, there aren't jobs. Okay. So there actually is almost a silver bullet for a lot of this stuff. Now, again, does that mean it's going to flourish perfectly? No, they're going to be assholes, of course. But that's very clear that if you have that, a lot of the shit takes care of itself
Yeah.
years and decades down the road. A lot of it does. And
Well,
why don't
that's
we
the
have it?
thing. That's the thing too, is when you have like spreadsheet monkeys running some of these companies for basically trying to squeeze the last drop out of them, whether it's private equity guys or people that are offshoring manufacturing operations or forcing mergers or different right spin-offs like transactions, stuff like that. You right, you might see that show up in like a dividend, but the number of private equity companies that then go bankrupt, like after they're sold by private equity, is just ridiculous. And it turns into this situation that we have now where it's like, hey, we need to actually rebuild our manufacturing and industrial base so we can, right? The first motivation is to be able to have military technology and stuff that we can create here. But after that, it's like, okay, do we want a functioning society or do we want a hyper financialized economy where we're trading derivatives of derivatives and it's basically monopoly money for some of these different things?
Yeah, it's South Park with the Margaritaville. How much do you think it's worth? 100 trillion? Like bailout. But right, and this is one of the greatest clip ever because that's what it is. But that's kind of where I look at it. It's like ideally we should do this because it's okay to love your country and it's okay to have a beautiful. You still got to work hard, but it's okay to, on all that. We're probably gonna get it because of military necessity, and I'm not gonna be picky about the win. That's kind of how I'm looking. It's like, why are we getting nuclear energy now? Is it because climate change was solved? No, I was saying this yesterday. It's like Bill Gates was like, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really, climate change kind of seems fake. And everybody's like, all right, all right. And it's like, that was a religion for decades. Why is it gone? Did they have a change of heart? No. What were they using it for? It was a form of control and hegemony.
Yep.
Why are they now turning against it? Well, we got to have a reason to open up all these coal plants and all these nuclear plants. Why is that? Because the bottleneck for AGI development is not just data center or data whatever. Yeah, data centers. It's the energy to power them.
No, it's
Uh,
100% the coders, right? It's like the coders and the tech is not the issue. It's, are we going to be able to have the capability to produce commodities and refine those commodities into finished products?
I'm gonna send in. I don't know if you. I read it 2 years ago. I fucking give it to everybody. Situational Awareness by Leopold Aschenbrenner.
Hmm.
I'll text it to you right now. It's a long read, but it June 2024. But it's I'll just read the first paragraph. Over the past year, the talk of the town has shifted from $10 billion compute clusters to $100 billion clusters to $1 trillion. Every 6 months, another zero is added to the boardroom plans. Behind the scenes, there's a fierce scramble to secure every power contract still available for the rest of the decade, every voltage transformer that can possibly be procured. American big business is gearing up to pour trillions of dollars into a long unseen mobilization of American industrial might. By the end of the decade, American electricity production will have grown tens of percent from the shale fields of Pennsylvania to the solar farms of Nevada. Hundreds of millions of GPUs will hum. And it goes on to say like that is the bottleneck. And it's like, okay, so why are we finally getting seemingly civilian use of nuclear fission? Fuck fusion. Let's just go fission. Let's just go to the thing that we already had in the 50s. Why didn't we have it? Well, it's pretty obvious the petrodollar control mechanism. Well, that would imply that we used it in some places. Well, yeah, nuclear aircraft carriers and submarines, and I would imagine some of the bunkers. So when you really do need it, I'm sure the White House has a small reactor. Okay. But for everybody, we're going to do the petrodollar thing because that's how we're fucking you. So why are we getting all of it now? Is it was the breakthrough? We did the math wrong. Climate change is not real. Did they come out and go, maybe there never was climate change, but yeah, we've been kind of just using the oil thing to fuck you guys. We've had this forever. Or is it because there's a pursuit of a new weapon? It's a pursuit of a new weapon, and I'm going to take the win. That's how I'm looking. And I think that's what you're saying is like, we're not reindustrializing for the good of the man. We're doing it so we can. I'm like, okay, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't
It
care.
all ends up at the same end destination for some of these different things. And I think to add on too, I think it's also we kind of realized that China has basically run a playbook for the last 20 years that has allowed them to, I mean, they're basically ahead of us on a bunch of these different things. And it has to do with their supply chains and their basically willingness to subsidize certain things. So that, like, if you look at the like smelting capacity for some of these different commodities, I think it's 70, no, I think it's 60% of the world's like copper concentrate is refined in China. I think it's like 50% for lead. Like the numbers are just like absolutely staggering on, I've got a quote here, like the number of smelters for like what we have in the US versus China, right? So we have 4 aluminum smelters in the US. China has 89, right? 89. China has 68 copper smelters. There's 2 in the US. There's 48 zinc smelters, and there's 1 in the US, right? And so if you're willing to subsidize those industries by controlling the processing right, capabilities, right? That's where you get the finished products. That's where you get the manufacturing. That's where you get the supply chains. And then, right, you kind of see that result in what's happened with the Chinese EV industry. So, right to the point where if U.S. Basically didn't lock out Chinese cars, like you'd probably bankrupt Ford and GM and all those guys in a year, right? Because it's not like Ford, like any of those companies have done anything to inspire loyalty from Americans. Where it's like, I don't know about your grandparents, but my grandparents are always like, I only drive American cars. We always buy American, right? And now it's like, yeah, like these are pieces of crap anyway, and they're gonna fuck you on recalls and insurance and financing and everything. So it's like, yeah, might as well buy Toyota. Like, so I think that's the thing that we're gonna see is a lot of these supply chains are going to be at least brought back into North and South America, like into the sphere of influence, and like it's got to happen quick, right? It's not something where like we can just conjure up finished materials for like high purity gold or silver or platinum or any of these other rare earth metals, right? The like it's bad for copper and zinc and all these different things. For rare earths, it's even worse. Like they basically have 100% of the refining capacity, right? And that's where you get into like gallium, indium. Like there's a whole bunch of them that have different aerospace and defense applications. But like if you don't have China, you couldn't build like basically any of our current military technology, any of the high spec stuff. So that's gonna be something to watch. I think is like what is the approach there? How fast can we do it? And is it something where we're gonna basically roll out the red carpet for some of these companies and say, look, here's a blank check, go fix it, right? I think that's kind of what's coming. It's already starting to happen. So,
I think it, and I do think it will happen because we have to. And it's also, I mean, it's, I know it's the most tired analogy, but I mean, that's what won World War II is that we just, Germany was technologically advanced to us, but we had so much shit. You know,
yeah.
the famous quote, a German tank could take 4 American tanks, which is why we made sure we always had 5. We just, Bill Burr says, who's kind of a shillip now, it's like we happy mealed them to death. Billions and billions served. Just every just look over the horizon. It's just nonstop ships. Yeah, you can blow up half of them with your U-boats. Go for it. There's so many coming.
Yeah.
There's so many coming. We have so
Well,
much extra shit. We're essentially gonna supply the Soviets with their vehicles too. We're just we're just jerking off on you. And that is what will that's what will be next. We absolutely have incredible military technology that I'm sure blows the doors off of China in small amounts,
yeah.
right? In small amount, I'm sure. I think Palmer Luckey said it. He's like, yeah, our military, he's like, our weapons are almost works of art. He's like, they're so amazing. That does not matter in a protracted war.
Quantity has a quality all of its own, right? So
Yeah.
that's
We'll, we'll just nuke them. No, we won't. We decided a long time ago that wasn't the way to go. There's a reason it hasn't been done yet. It's because it doesn't fucking work. Yeah, I think, and I've always thought just in terms of like kind of silver bullet stuff. It's like, well, how would you like fix that? Let's just say that this shit town, if you could only do one thing, it seems like you put a factory there, and a lot of it, drug use to domestic abuse to property prices to public school quality to everything would just go up, right? And you have to go like, well, how come like we haven't voted for that I don't know incentive? Well, so there is one even farther upstream than having factories. It's voting. It's the ability to have it. You and I are on the same page. We need a monarchy, but I've always thought like, dude, if Trump's gonna do anything, it's like, dude, fuck everything else. Just somehow make voting real. That would solve more than than your wildest dreams, than any sweeping new military thing, any own the libs, and like it would be to fix voting. Now it'll be captured again in decades because that's just it's cat and mouse. It'll go forever. The sword and the shield. And then didn't I think he tweeted a couple nights ago that thing about did you see that the executive order about China's involvement in the 2020 election and how this would give him sweeping powers, sweeping executive orders as a
Hmm.
national security risk to immediately nullify mail-in ballots, electronic ballots, and you'd have to have an ID. If he does that, that might actually save everything. If it was no, I'm with you. We don't even need this shit. We just need a dictator. But if it does work, I think it's pretty clear the vast majority of people are not okay with everything that's going on. I think they would vote for like, hey, we're bringing jobs back. Like this is what we're doing, and not just some like paper over the cracks of we're increasing minimum wage. No, bring back the quality of jobs where it will rise on its own. It'll just
Yeah.
be that's what it is, and it will take year. It'll take years and decades, but I really do think it can and will turn around.
Well, I think it happens like extremely quickly. Like one of the things that I think America has that is unique is the kind of culture for people that have been here for a long time. Like there's like a certain amount of like gunslinger attitude or like risk taking, like risk appetite for, hey, we're gonna take a shot at this, and if it doesn't work, we're gonna move on to the next thing. Like it's not a like one failure is like defines your whole life, right? And I don't think a lot of other countries kind of have that same approach to entrepreneurship and taking risk. And I think the to your point on like if you start to build it, like a lot of these things have massive multiplier effects that you can't even
Yeah,
really put in an economic study, or just like some economic like government report saying, oh, this is going to create like this exact number of jobs and no more. It's like, no, like if you build some of these factories, there's a whole bunch of indirect jobs. There's like other businesses that then come in and either want to work near the factory for like basically cooperation reasons or something completely separate where it's like, hey, we now have a bit of a workforce and like there's people there that can do these things. So you're seeing some of this happen already, like in the mining sector, where like there are several large projects that are going to be coming online just here in the state of Idaho in the next 2, 3 years, and you're going to see an economic boom, like just specifically even up in the Coeur d'Alene area. Like they've got a mine coming online in like middle of this year, and then one in the next couple of years. It's basically like the best silver mine in North America as far as grade and amount produced. When those come online, you're going to see like just a massive economic boom right along I-90 there in Idaho. And there's like several other gold projects. Like the multiplier effect on actual production in some of those areas is just absolutely massive, especially if some of that wealth like stays in the community and there's additional jobs to be had where it's not just, okay, this guy works in the mine and he makes 150, 200,000 a year. It's that kind of business that can pop up on top of it, or some of the different services that can be tied to it, and kind of the chain reaction that it sets off. So I think that'll happen in industry as well. But with some of the stuff that's happening in commodities markets, you're seeing it in the resource space where, like, hey, when gold's at 5,000 and silver's what, $93 or whatever it closed at, right? There's going to be people that are excited to open like new production or restart older operations.
Now, when I think about this and it sounds so obvious and so clear. It's like, this is all we have to do to make it better. And right, the natural, I guess, counterpoint would be like, it seems too good to be true because why haven't we done it? Well, the flip side's also true. If you were an enemy of the United States or whatever, Western civilization at large, they're not stupid. They would get war game this. They'd look at all of them and go, there's a lot of ways to attack, but if you're going to attack one vector, attack voting, and then that will slowly be able to do trade deals to destroy the industrialization, and then that will take 50 years, but you'll haul it out and you'll kill it.
Yeah.
But they would also, right? It's
Well, throwing a dash of environmentalism at the same time, so you can't build a fucking thing here, right?
yeah. I mean, listen, a surgeon and a serial killer both know like very important points in your neck. You know what I mean? Like, there's two ways. Like, well, if it's just that clear, don't cut the carotid. It's like, well, that's not a doctor. That's Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, he's not. You know, like, oh, I guess it does make sense. Yeah, you're doing it wrong. You're supposed to be drinking water and getting 8 hours of sleep, not having your head cut off. Like, that's very, very common mistake. But like, that's what it kind of feels like to me. And in terms of like the unforeseen effects, I think that's a huge thing. I mean, I look at, and I've told the story 100 trillion times in the podcast, blah, blah, blah. Like in college, pre med, blah, 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 got into med school, sober, studying, meditating, living my best life, all that good stuff. A couple months after, I realized I don't want to be a doctor after I got accepted. Then, right around then, also lost my older brother to suicide. And for years, just spiraled, weight gain, fucking addicted to clonazepam, just drinking, smoking, hated everything. And it was more than just, you couldn't just, there was unforeseen multiplier effects of negativity. It was more than just, oh, you gained weight. It was also, oh, you became such a degenerate, you had to move home with mom and dad. And once you moved home 500 miles from the college town, oh, then you didn't have any friends anymore. Then you didn't have it. Then you stopped putting on like clean clothes. And then your girlfriend rightfully left you. It's like, and then you did all this shit and you became more and more like hateful and less wanting of a goal and more of just immediate gratification. I just want to take a pill and go back to sleep. And then turning it all around, starting the podcast in 2020, 6 years later, and then for doing that for 4 years and the multiplying effects of life getting better. And then 2 years ago, getting just completely sober. And then 1 year ago, started dieting and I'm down 53 pounds. Like, you can look at it on an Excel sheet and be like, oh, you lost weight and, your body fat's down. And I'm sure, even though I'm young, I'm sure there's like an effect on like blood pressure and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, that's nothing. That is 1% of 1% of nothing. That's looking at a single frame of a movie in terms of like the positive effects, not just quantifiable through, oh, I do more podcasts, it being, I have more views. And it's like, everything just from like being a better brother and like son to being more grateful to what do I do when I'm not just getting blackout drunk every Friday. It's really have to find other forms of fun. And it's, what do you do when you're not hungover? Like, I don't know. I guess I'll just go to the gym again. Like, well, and what happens when you start to lose all this weight? You're like, I just kind of want to feel better. You're like, oh shit, I forgot. Now, like, hey, women smile back at me now. You're like, oh, that's a cool thing. And then it's like, it just keeps spiraling and spiraling. And you stop looking at it as this woe is me. Like, well, I have to be sober. But it moves from the stick to the carrot. You're like, well, how much better can life get? Well, if life's gotten really good now, what does another 2 years look like? Well, what does that look like? And then it goes farther and farther down to just the shit you can measure is nothing. It just, it genuinely just gets better and better and better, and like a deeper and deeper level to, well, how can I leave the world better than I found it? What philanthropic causes can I help through the podcast? Like, I help this group of guys, special forces guys that hunt down fucking pedophiles and traffic kids, called ARC, the Association for the Recovery of Children. And I'm not like patting myself on the back. I was able to put a fundraiser together for them in November with a bunch of wealthy people I met through the show, and we raised like 30% of their yearly expenses in one night. They're actively like saving little kids getting raped daily. And like, that's not on a, like, you don't look at that and go, oh, you went from 14% body fat to 13%. You look at that and you're like, that's real. That's fucking real. That person, who knows what life that kid will have, or and again, this is nothing I'm doing. I just put the people together. That's kind of how I view a lot of, and maybe Trump's right calling it a golden age. It's going to be so much more than the important stuff, sure. Median income, drug abuse, murder rate, whatever, home values. But that's all the stuff you can measure. We're not talking about just in general, like life being worth living, like life being beautiful. And I think that's what we're looking at. That's my
Yeah.
clip that. That's my presidential stump speech.
You got ambitions for that someday down the road?
Way down the road, yeah. No, way down the
No.
road, I think. Yeah, no, it's no my goal is to legitimately make as much money on the podcast as I can to give as much money to this group to kill as many pedophiles as possible. That is the grand arc of this. People are like, what's the point? Subscribers to what end? Well, I'd like to make enough money to keep doing this. I'd like to have a wife
Yeah,
and
start
kids
a
one day.
private military contractor and
But like big picture, what do I want to leave in the world behind? I'd like to be a father. I'd like to be a blah blah blah. Whatever. Donate to the local church. I would really like to leave a sizable chunk of money to a bunch of former tier one guys that just shoot pedophiles in the face. That is the thumbprint I want. And I don't care if anyone knows it was. I don't even need credit. I don't give a fuck. That is unironically like what the grand scheme of the podcast is.
yeah.
Make enough money that I can take 1% of it and raise a family, and then give the rest of it to Delta Force operators shooting pedophiles. No, like not lying, not being funny. Give me a lie. That is the EKG me lie detector test. That's 1,000% what the end goal of this podcast. If I let's say really get like a Rogan contract, $100 million to what end? Right,
Yeah.
I'd like enough to comfortably raise a family. But it's what end? I
Yeah.
don't. The Lamborghini, it's a car. What if I go to the grocery store? What am I going to take a fucking $800,000? No, I'll take a Civic. Like fuck off. Like that is legitimately, and I say it openly and privately. That is the end goal of the podcast: is to fund a standing army to kill pedophiles.
Yeah. No, I think that's what some people have been starting to kind of wake up and realize like what is it for? Like it's not are you obsessed with seeing like number go up like on a personal level, like in the accounts? Like no. Right. So what is it for? Right after a certain point, right, where you can have like comfortable living and raise a family, right? What are you gonna do with it? What kind of projects are you gonna work on? What kind of things are you gonna leave behind? And I think we're gonna see that approach start to be much more apparent for like guys our age and younger, where it's not just about, hey, I want to do this so I can get rich and retire early and whatever. It's more going to be, okay, what can I build and leave behind, not just for me and my family, but for like the state, the country, whatever place you're living. And I think we're going to see like the return of like Rockefeller and Mellon and like Carnegie, like
Carnegie.
I think you just see a return of some of these like figures, industrial titans, where it's like, yeah, they do something incredible on the business side, but then like they're going to like donate or build other things that are right. It's not just the donations going to APAC, right?
Yeah.
It's donations going to like great projects, or people are going to look to build. Like I think we're going to go back to building basically works of art and not just like, oh, here's the city and there's another glass box going up. Great. Like
I'll
whatever.
bring back
Right.
Art Deco.
Yeah. That's the plan, I think. But I think there's, I think we can basically start to right build stuff that'll last and build stuff that is going to leave a legacy. I think that's kind of where things are headed, right? That's why I'm optimistic, because I think the attitude and mindset is not just, well, I got mine and I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm leaving so I don't have to deal with like fixing it. It's like, no, like this is going to be the time to like make those changes. And this is where like the opportunity is when you have all these things in flux and all these things that are changing and different things like different cycles happening, whether it's in the market or in politics and geopolitics, like those are right. People say you live in interesting times or the fourth turning or whatever, but right, it's that's when things change.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily mean for the worse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you look at like Carnegie and his libraries. But that's also the important thing though, is because like you could say, well, I want the podcast. I did, and I do. I want to build the biggest podcast in the world, and I want to do cool interviews and shit. We got to wrap it up in a minute. I have another show, but like, you have to go. Well, I want it to be great. All right, to what end? Well, you look at like Led Zeppelin or the Beatles. Absolutely, sure, you could become the goat. But then to what end? Go back a little further, because those were 60 years ago, but we still kind of go, yeah, man, fucking Stairway to Heaven. Now, go back to like silent film era, right? Even if you rationally know that those were groundbreaking, can you look at those things with anything other than like a laugh? You're like, what the fuck is this shit? Buster Keaton, you know? You look back at the
Yeah.
Wright brothers, you're like, these fucking fellas look like jackass. You can't even respect it. So I look way down the road. Not like how will it be remembered in 30 years? Someone will look at me one day the same way you look at some fucking faggot in a three-piece suit standing next to the Eiffel Tower, and you're like, or they, see a dude in a blimp, you're like, the airship, you're like, you fucking pussy. Like, we have fighter jets. That's how I look at it. It's like even if you build the best podcast ever, it will one day be at best something that is laughed at. So
Yeah.
like, so then what do you want to do? Man, I don't know, like a library system or something that sets to just generally raise the quality of life here. That's how
Yeah.
I look at it. It's like, dude, there's no way that you have any legacy that lives in anyone's memory that is not something you just somebody looks at, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But he was the greatest water painter of 1800 or 800 AD Turkey. You're like,
Okay. Great.
cool, dude. Fuck off.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I think you bag on blimps, but I bet blimps are gonna make a comeback here. Like
I hope they do. I
it,
don't mean to shit
it,
on them.
if you look at some of the technology and like some of the things that are have been out of reach or out of mind for a long time, we're gonna see old technologies resurface and branded as new. But there's also new technologies coming, so I think it's an interesting time to be alive. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't mean to shit on airships. Airships are awesome. I read a book last year called Empires of the Sky. Fuck it, I highly recommend it. I gotta go. I got two guests waiting. Send me the podcast. I'll put it in the description, and I'll send this to you when it's up. It'll be up later today.
Yeah, for listeners, I can do the quick plug. If you're
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
for me, you can just search Contrarian Corner. That's where the Substack is. Same name for the podcast and the YouTube. So that's where you can find me.
And you can follow our mutual OnlyFans, which we're pioneering next year. So Ben, thank you for your time. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Three quick organizations that I try to help through the podcast. I don't take any money from, and I wouldn't if they offered. First and foremost is ARC, the Association for the Recovery of Children. That's led by Basil Baz. It's been around since 1993. They physically liberate sex trafficked children. They get about 10 to 12 kids a year. I've got a fundraiser thrown for them before. You can go to the link in the description. You can donate, I think, as little as $1. It's tax deductible. They are truly doing the Lord's work. This isn't an awareness campaign. This isn't wristbands. They physically go in, kick down doors, and liberate children who are raped daily. They're doing the Lord's work. If you can go help them, you can go give $1. You can also take their training programs and do your best to help spot human trafficking in the world around you. It really is, if there's anything that this podcast accomplishes on this earth, I think it should be to help them. The second group is Invest, like a vest, a bulletproof vest, led by Mike Letts. 25% of police precincts in the United States cannot afford to give their, and this is true, cannot afford to give their officers cars, weapons, nor vests. They cannot do that. And you can donate as little as $1. They have donated over, I believe, 70,000 bulletproof vests in 30 years. Actually, Invest and ARC were both founded in 1983. Fun fact. And Invest is also doing something that is dovetailing actually with ARC. I put them in touch, BAR, Broken Arrow Ranch, which is to make sure that the kids who are rescued don't fall right back into the traffic system. So ARC, you can go in there and you can help them, and Invest, you can also go in there and help them. And lastly is the Church of the Barbarian Spirit. That's my buddy Clay Martin, Special Forces. It is a group to where Special Forces veterans are helping other Special Forces veterans in unconventional ways, be it fasting, be it psychedelics, be it just face-to-face talking to reduce suicide rates. And as you guys know, suicide is very near and dear to me. So those are three groups that I really think are actively trying to make the world a better place instead of just talking about it. If you guys could just go check them out, go share their links, go do whatever you can. If you can donate, go donate. If not, that's cool too. But, long after I'm dead and long after you guys are gone, I want the lasting impact of this podcast to be something that's genuinely helped the world. So if you guys can go check those out, that would be insanely appreciated. Thank you so much.